Introduction. So overview is the greatest enemy a man can have, and that is fear. I know some of you are afraid to listen to the truth. You have been raised on fear and lies, but I am going to preach to you the truth until you are free of that fear. Malcolm X. The fearful attitude. In the beginning, fear was a basic, simple emotion for the human animal. We confronted something overwhelming, the imminent threat of death in the forms of war, plagues, and natural disasters, and we felt fear. As for any animal, this emotion had a protective function. It allowed us to take notice of a danger and retreat in time. For us humans, it served an additional positive purpose. We could remember the source of the threat and protect ourselves better the next time. Civilization depended on this ability to foresee and forestall dangers from the environment. Out of fear, we also developed religion and various belief systems to conform us. Fear is the oldest and strongest emotion known to man, something deeply inscribed in our nervous system and subconscious. Over time, however, something strange began to happen. The actual terrors that we faced began to lessen in intensity as we gained increasing control over our environment. But instead of our fears lessening as well, they began to multiply in number. We started to worry about our status in society, whether people liked us or how we fit into the group. We became anxious for our livelihoods, the future of our families and children, our personal health, and the aging process. Instead of a simple, intense fear of something powerful and real, we developed a kind of generalized anxiety. It was as if the thousands of years of feeling fear in the face of nature could not go away. We had to find something at which to direct our anxiety, no matter how small or improbable. In the evolution of fear, a decisive moment occurred in the 19th century when people in advertising and journalism discovered that if they framed their stories and appeals with fear, they could capture our attention. It is an emotion we find hard to resist or control, and so they constantly shifted our focus to new possible sources of anxiety. The latest health scare, the new crime wave, the social fast pass we might be committing, and endless hazards in the environment of which we were not aware. With the increasing sophistication of the media and the visceral quality of the imagery, they have been able to give us the feeling that we are fragile creatures in an environment full of danger, even though we live in a world infinitely safer and more predictable than anything our ancestors knew. With their help, our anxieties have only increased. Fear is not designed for such a purpose. Its function is to stimulate powerful physical responses, allowing an animal to retreat in time. After the event, it is supposed to go away. An animal that cannot let go of its fears once the threat is gone will find it hard to eat and sleep. We are the animal that cannot get rid of its fear, and when so many of them lay inside of us, these fears tend to color how we view the world. We shift from the feeling fear because of some threat to have a fearful attitude towards life itself. We come to see almost every event in terms of risks. We exaggerate the dangers and our vulnerability. We instantly focus on the adversity that is always possible. We are generally unaware of this phenomenon because we accept it as normal. In times of prosperity, we have the luxury of fretting over things But in times of trouble, this fearful attitude becomes particularly pernicious. Such moments are when we need to solve problems, deal with reality, and move forward. But fear is a call to retreat and retrench. This is precisely what Franklin Delano Roosevelt confronted when he took office in 1933. The Great Depression that had begun with the stock market crash of 1929 was now at its worst. But what struck Roosevelt was not the actual economic factors, but the mood of the public. It seemed to him that people were not only more fearful than necessary, but their fears were making it harder to surmount adversity. In his inaugural address to the country, he said that he would not ignore such obvious realities as the collapse of the economy and that he would not preach a naive optimism, but he implored his listeners to remember that the country has faced worse things in its past, periods such as the Civil War. What had brought us out of such moments was our pioneering spirit, our determination and resolve. And this is what it means to be an American. Fear creates its own self-fulfilling dynamic. As people give in to it, they lose energy and momentum. Their lack of confidence translates into inaction that lowers confidence levels even further, on and on. So first of all, he told the audience, "Let me assess my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, lameness, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed effort to convert retreat into advance." What Roosevelt sketched out in his speech is the knife edge that separates failure from success in life. That edge is your attitude, which has the power to shape your reality.